Archer here. In today's video, I'm going to discuss why I stopped playing music, as I actually did a music-based degree at university and I'm now a full-time author. When I was a child, I had two very definitive career paths in mind. I wanted to write books and I wanted to record and play my own music and have a band and tour, essentially. I specifically wanted to write and perform my own songs. I actually do play the guitar and sing, and I also play drums to a mildly competent degree. Out of writing and music, there were two clear differences in terms of my skills for both. I have always possessed a natural talent for words, and I could actually write right from the get-go. However, I was not naturally a good singer. My vocal pitch was really bad when I was younger, and people actually used to laugh, sometimes to my face and sometimes behind my back whenever I tried to sing. So I took vocal lessons with my dad. Thanks to this, over the course of several years, I developed a singing voice that is not fantastic, but not terrible. I mean, I don't think cats want to pull their hair out whenever I sing, so that's okay. At the age of 18, like most other British teenagers, I went to university, although I dropped out several months later, halfway into my first term. My plans regarding university really had nothing to do with getting a degree. I had this plan of going, and I was going to go and drop out at some point because I wanted to form a band, write my books, and essentially get signed to a record label and become really famous and tour the world. And yeah, I had no real intention of actually utilizing university for academic purposes, and it was really just a practicality thing in terms of being in an environment where I could hopefully do what I actually wanted to do, which was make music, write books, do my own thing, etc. Basically what I'm doing now. To be honest, I have achieved both. I've recorded some music. I've actually recorded an EP, which you can check out below, and I have obviously published several books. If I could use university as a way to form a band and be in an environment where I could just write, that everything would pretty much be okay. However, the funny thing about doing a degree is you actually have to do work in order to stay on the course. I spent late 2015 deliberating whether I should stay at uni or whether I should drop out. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go? I already thought that I was going to drop out. And the funny thing about if you already have the thought of doing something in your mind, you tend to actually end up doing it a lot faster because it's already there to do it in your head. I also had a pretty bad alcohol problem at the time, which sort of contributed to personal difficulties, but I won't go into all that right now. So I was going to just move back home. But in early 2016, I decided to research creative writing degrees. I thought maybe I could do a degree in creative writing, so at least I could still be at university. So I was researching creative writing courses, and I came across this course on UCAS, Songwriting and Creative Artistry, at the Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford, which is a small town just south of London. Calling, calling on Guildford. Calling, calling to the place that is cold, further up north, cobble streets, narrow roads, call on Old York. I applied for ACM to do songwriting and creative artistry about 6 days before the deadline closed, and I went for an audition and was offered a place to start that September of 2016. University Take 2 was an incredibly difficult time for me because I spent most of it going to AA meetings and having panic attacks, which developed after a pretty emotionally scarring relationship that I was in midway through 2016. I think that university isn't for everyone, and honestly, university wasn't really for me looking back. I'm not one of those people who's very good at kind of just being told, right, do this, this, and this. I very much like to just do my own thing and make my own way, and I guess that's kind of telling now because I don't have a normal job. I make videos and I write books. University is not for everyone, and the school system obviously is incredibly flawed. I don't think that we're supposed to sit in boxes and recycle a bunch of facts in our head and do repeated tests and get up at ridiculously early hours in the morning, which are actually bad for teenagers because of circadian rhythm. There's actually science behind why teenagers need more sleep and why teenagers tend to wake later and sleep later. Every day I wake up, if there's one thing I'm grateful for, it is to be in my 20s. I'm so happy that I am not a teenager anymore. I feel, even when life is hard and I feel like rubbish, I'm happy that I at least get to wake up and do what I want and don't have to go and be a slave to the system and do stuff which makes me miserable. To people who feel that way, like, you're not alone. University is not for everyone. School isn't for everyone. These systems, it sounds really sad, but we don't all belong with the system. Some of us are better suited to doing our own thing, and thankfully with the internet today, that's why so many of us can be entrepreneurs and start businesses and do things online, be digital marketers or digital nomads. Like, this is the future. Personal life aside, I did manage to form a band while at university, although it did take me a whole year to find bandmates who could actually stick. Funnily enough, during my first term at York, I actually did manage to form a band, and we did like a few rehearsals. I had a drummer, a girl on drummer, and a guy playing lead guitar, and then me playing guitar and singing. It's really hard to find a bassist. No one plays bass. This is something which I learned about the music industry when I was at university. There are no bass players anywhere. Even the Beatles couldn't find a bass player. That's why Paul McCartney had to learn bass. If you're a musician, then I really recommend learning to play bass. You will literally never go out of work. My motivations for going to ACM were obviously different compared to York. I wanted to go and use it as a space to actually thrive and develop. Whereas at York, I basically just mucked about. I was drunk all the time. By the way, my alcohol problem developed several months before I went to university, so it wasn't because of university that I became an alcoholic. I was already kind of going down that route. I went to ACM because I wanted to learn more about the music industry. I wanted to record, I wanted to play gigs, and I also wanted to thrive as a writer. Funnily enough, when it comes to my music, and this is, a lot of people said this as well at university, lyrics are actually my strongest area. When I was very, very little, I started off like writing stories and poetry, and then I started learning to play the guitar, and that's when I wanted to start kind of combining the two and writing songs. And ever since then, it's just kind of been these two paths and trying to figure out which one to kind of push more. So by the time I graduated from university in 2019, I had recorded an EP and I'd published my first book, Every Last Psycho. And I also regularly authored 2 blogs. There's Arena Matcha blog, where I just post opinions, and Zari Does Music, where I would review musicians' music. I did several gigs in 2018 and 2019, and I had so much fun playing. My band was basically just under the name Zarina. I did experiment with names. I was like Zarina and the something, and for a while it was just Zarina, and then it became Zarina and the Elements, and now it's just on pause. As 2019 approached, my mental health started to go awry again. My panic attacks were flaring up a lot in early 2019. I ended up claiming a disability allowance because I basically struggled to function whenever I went outside. I was a real mess. I think I had 3 job interviews in 2019, and I actually had a panic attack in one of the interviews. And whenever I go to the Universal Credit Job Center, I just literally be shaking. I was a big, big mess. And even when the pandemic hit in 2020, I think the first lockdown, for the first 3 months, I basically could not go outside unless it was to go jogging, because if I just tried to go to the shop, I just completely because I do spend a lot of time at home. Obviously, I do all my work from home, my videos, my writing. That definitely does help my mental health a lot. And again, it's sad, like the system doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Some of us have to figure out ourselves. Like if you struggle with any kind of mental or physical disorder, it's really, really hard. Around mid 2019, I decided that writing was the thing that I was going to really just focus on. And I always kind of knew in the back of my head that writing was going to be the main thing, but I thought that I could do both at the same time. Like I thought I could write books and make music kind of concurrently, but I kind of realized that actually I do just kind of have to focus on one, because both music and writing require a lot of time and effort and dedication. I loved gigging. I really loved gigging. I love performing. I love playing music to crowds. I feel so alive when I'm on stage. Like it's literally one of the best feelings ever. I miss it so much, and I do hope to return to it at some point in the future, but right now it's just not practical. And once again, because of the pandemic, no one was going to gigs anyway. Also, logistically, writing is much easier because it basically just requires my brain and a laptop, and it doesn't require me to have to go outside. I don't have to pay for rehearsal space or lug my guitar to venues or message people saying like what time you come in and going on public like it's a very physically demanding thing playing music. Messaging 30 people on Facebook asking them to come to your gigs and only 2 show up. The music world is a very tough one, and while I'm not exactly raking it as a writer yet, I have actually sold books, because I've sold physical books. I used to sell them a lot at poetry events before the pandemic, and I've sold books online obviously, and now I have my Kirk series and the Kindle Unlimited page reads. So I can actually, a book is a tangible product that you can sell and people can buy. Music used to be a tangible product. You would have a CD, which is something that people would pay for, but nowadays it's all about digital streaming. The last 2 decades have really changed, because nowadays it seemed like to become really successful as a musician, you need to get a song which has like 3 million plays on Spotify. Also, you need to do a lot of paid live gigs. I think that's where a lot of the money is, which again, pandemic isn't really possible. So if I was going to pursue music, I'd do as many paid live gigs as possible and sell merchandise, because that really seems like the only way right now in which you can become financially stable as a musician. You got to do paid gigs, you got to sell merch, and then you got to try and have 1 million playing song on Spotify, but obviously that takes time. I mean, doing paid live gigs is a very doable thing, or even busking and having merchandise as well. Like, these are very, very doable things. Unfortunately, it does suck that musicians have to do that. And I wish that CDs, to be honest, I wish that we still had a culture of people buying CDs, because I love CDs, I love physical albums. I think there's nothing more beautiful than holding it in your hand. And if you compare that like with books, you have ebooks, but at least people still pay for ebooks. I mean, even Kindle Unlimited, people pay for a monthly subscription, but you get paid per page reads, and you can actually end up getting more potentially with the page reads. But there are lots of people out there who have solid careers in music, who are in their 20s and living in London and thriving. Like, it's not impossible, nothing is impossible. You just have to have a solid plan and know how to market yourself. So for my mental health and my general what I'm able to do, writing is the more straightforward thing for me to focus on right now. I think that we have to prioritize our time and realize that we just can't do it all. And I really do miss playing music, but I know that right now writing is the more practical out of the 2. And if I keep on publishing these short romance books, I know that I can make some financial return on this new adult Kirk University series. I know that I can if I keep on going with it. I want to get established in one field, and that field right now is writing. I want to become established as an author within the next few years, and there are plenty of authors out there who are successful and are not necessarily celebrities. Danielle Steele is the world's highest paid author, but if you don't read, then you probably don't know who she is. And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because Danielle Steele is like a multi-millionaire. If you're a writer, you don't really need to be a celebrity. You just need to be able to make some kind of income. Even indie authors, like people like Sarah Cannon and Colleen Hoover, these are very successful authors who are not necessarily superstars, but they have a solid, successful career. So that's what I want. I want to make a living writing and publishing books. And I want this more than anything else right now. And once I am established in this. I would like to gig again and record. I'd like to gig before that, but realistically speaking, that can't be a priority right now. I have to prioritize my writing. So thank you for watching this. I hope that this video was interesting and maybe gave you some clarity for yourself if you ever wonder what kind of career path to go down or where your life is going or what to kind of do, what path to follow. I believe that we all very much need to find our own path.
Your lips, it's like vodka.